Hi everyone, this is Grant with Digital Dream Labs, and today we're going to show you how to install a OTA file over your local network. This is primarily of interest to new OSKR owners. We have a unlock image which you need to apply to your robot to gain access to the internals. An OTA file is, OTA is short for over the air, and this is an update transmitted over Wi-Fi. Normally this is a safe operation. We download it. If something goes wrong, we fall back to the last good download, and if that goes wrong, we fall back to a recovery partition. In the case of OSKR unlocks, though, we actually do need to rewrite the recovery partition and a boot partition. So if something goes wrong in that process, it can cause some serious problems. To avoid that, what we recommend is that you install your OSKR unlock image over the local network and remove any dependencies on your service provider, Amazon's hosting going down, somewhere in the middle, some sort of freak outage that happens halfway through the installation, which causes problems. This is covered in the OSKR Owner's Manual, which is available at oskr.ddl.io. But we're going to go ahead and make a video here to walk through it. I know that's helpful to some people, and just to be able to see it is better than reading the lines. But anytime there's a link or a command, keep in mind that it is available in the manual, and you should refer to that. So the first thing we want to do is we need to download a copy of the OTA file. When you have your unlock image, we will provide a specific link with the custom image, but for now what we are going to do is we are going to install the normal full update to a robot that's been restored to the factory default. So right now we've got it at 090, and we're going to install the latest version. Oh, and that didn't work, but let's try this again. Let's see if I can get off the top of my head. Global.anki services. Full latest OTA. And there we go. Okay, so we've just downloaded a copy. Now what we need to do is we need to serve the file locally. What we're going to do, we're going to use a little dev trick, and we're just going to cheat and use Python. Now there's nothing special about this, but Python just happens to have a built-in web server, and it happens to Python happens to be installed automatically on Macs and Linux machines and many Windows machines. So I pull up a command session and go to the directory that I've installed the file, and I run python 3-m http server. Once again, all of these commands are in the manual. And let's see if this worked. So now we go back to our web browser, and we go to HTTP localhost 8000, and here we see the files. Now if you don't have Python 3 installed, if you have an older system, there's also a slightly different command for Python 2, and I guess they just decided it didn't look modern enough. So that's python-m simple HTTP server, and let's see if that one worked. And once again, it kind of really doesn't matter that we're using Python, but that's simple. So if you have another web server, if you're on a Windows machine, we will probably try to come up with some recommendations that might be easier. But really all we want to do is be able to serve files. And we've got that working. Now the next thing we need to do, and this is also a little tricky depending on your operating system, is we need to know what the local IP address of the computer is. So in my case, I do ifconfig grep inet, and it's going to list some stuff. And then down here, one of these is 192.168.1.130, and I know that's my address. The local address, which is different than what you get if you go somewhere like whatsmyip.com, will usually start with 192.168, or it will start with 10. And here we've gotten that. Now, different operating systems are different. There's many different ways you can do it. So I suggest you just use Google to find a way that works for you and your operating system if this method doesn't work, because we can't really just go over every combination here. But so now we have this, and once again, we can test. And in here, we're going to go 192.168.1.130. And that didn't work. And oh, that's because I had killed my web server to check the IP address. And this is one reason we want to practice, just so that nothing unexpected happens when you're going through. You're comfortable, you don't feel you've destroyed your robot. Okay, let's try this again. And there, now we've got it. Now we can copy the link address, and that will be what we use to deploy. So the next step, of course, is that we need to put our robot into pairing mode. So we've got our vector here. We press twice on the backpack, and we get the pairing code. Now we are going to use vector web setup to install, and that's vector setup ddl.io. Once again, the link is in there, and this gives us some advanced options that are not available in the phone option. I know some people have had some trouble with this. We are not going through the whole process. But here we initiate the pairing. It's going to ask for a passcode, and this is the important part. Here you see checked enable autoflow setup, which is what you see on the phone app. You want to uncheck that, which will take us to an advanced setup. So let's see what Vector gave us. 937-624. 937-624. And we connect. And this brings us to a simulated command line console. Now, if you want to see all the options you can do in here, you can type help. It's going to list a bunch of things. If you want to just see the general status, here we're running the original factory firmware, which I advise resetting for testing this out. And we still have no Wi-Fi internet set up. So we do need Wi-Fi access to be able to talk to our computer. So we can run Wi-Fi scan. That will show a list of IPs. And then we can run Wi-Fi connect. And I should not have put spaces in my name, but I did, so I forgot to put quotes around it. And we do Wi-Fi connect, SSID, password. And I really hope none of my neighbors watch this video and start stealing my internet. Okay. And now we are connected to Wi-Fi. So once again, we've got this link over here. I'm going to copy the address, make sure it's on my clipboard. Now I simply do OTA start, and I paste that in, and we hit enter, and let's see what happens. Okay, so there we've got the bar going. It's downloading the file, and it's going to take a little bit of time, a few minutes to install, and then when it's done, it should actually go ahead and reboot, and we will have the latest version of the software. Now, some things that can happen here, a lot of times, and I've done this many times, you just end up using localhost here. If you do that, you're going to get a 203 error. 203 means the robot cannot connect to the file. That tends to happen. That's probably the most common error that people see. There are a few other error scenarios covered in the owner's manual. So as we get more, as we see what more people are doing, we will try to get more information to help people understand what the errors are. This actually does seem to run, yeah, normally when I run it over the internet, it does seem to go a little slower. Now, since we're right on this local network, we're getting a pretty good transfer rate. So I think we will go ahead and wait it out and see what happens. And okay, almost halfway done. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. But anyway, so we're just doing a normal upgrade. We think it's best to try that out, test it out, and then when you've completed that, you'll want to do the same process, but using the custom image we've baked specifically for your hardware. And after that, you're going to get access to all kinds of cool features, development tools, and toys that you can only see with the OSKR variation of the robot. And we're very excited to see what people are going to do with this and what they're going to do that we never even imagined they were going to do. It's just going to be really cool what people are going to be able to make happen. And maybe 80% coming into the home stretch. Usually if there's an error, it happens early on because it reads the files as it goes. So if you get this far, we know we're in pretty good shape. And there it completed. 3 is the number we want. That was successful status. And let's take a look at Vector. It goes ahead and it automatically reboots. Here we go. Now on this unit, there's no user account set up, so he's going to reboot, but he's going to go back to his setup mode. And once he starts, we'll just double check and make sure that the version is there that we want to see. And he's thinking. Okay, here we go. Yeah, everything worked. He's going to come back up. All right, so now let's go ahead and see. Okay, now if we go to this screen, if you didn't know, if you lift this arm up and down, we get some diagnostics. And here we see we are now on 1.6.0.3331, and once again, we do not have an IP set up. So that's good. So now at this point, it does need a user attached. You actually can use your phone app from here. You do not need to use Vector Web Setup if you already have your password and set up. Sometimes people have had trouble at the tail end of the Vector Web Setup, so you can use the phone, bring Vector back to life, and then hopefully you'll feel really good about installing the unlock image and have any sort of doubts removed before you go into the process of creating an OSKR unit. So thanks a lot. Once again, there's plenty of documentation at oskr.ddl.io, and if there are other issues, contact our support team. Thanks for your time.